I was a computer programmer for many years, and I accomplished a lot of things. I never got rich, but I did gain a lot of friends throughout the world. That was a cool thing. But I spent probably over 20 years programming, so I know quite a bit about the process and what goes on. When something works, that's great. And when something doesn't work, it's the opposite of great. And sometimes you spend a lot more time trying to fix what doesn't work than writing what does work. I wrote a program that was really, I don't know, intuitive, I guess. Some people told me, anyways. But within that program was thousands of lines of code. And all of that code had to be written in such a way that if this happens, I want that to happen. Or if this happens, I want that to happen. And there's a lot to consider. And a lot of the times, what you don't expect can happen. So then you go back to the chalkboard and try to figure out, where did I go wrong? My point is, if my program that did such a simple thing took thousands of lines of code, I wonder how many lines of code it takes to control any living thing. I don't care if it's a blade of grass, um, a tree, a frog, monkey. I don't care what it is. Sometimes you don't realize how much something, how much information something has to process and actuate, carry out. It's staggering, really. I'm going to go back to the simplest form of life as we see daily with our own visual eyes, our own eyes, we see it. And I'll talk about a plant, and I don't care what plant it is. When you take that dead seed and you bury it in the ground and you add some water, that dead seed comes to life. It comes to life in two forms. The one form wants to come out of the earth so that it could reach the light. The other part wants to go further down into the earth so that it could reach the water. These two parts are vital for that plant to survive. Without the one, the other can't survive. Now, as this part above the ground starts to grow, its branches, if it's a tree, start to seek area where there's more light. And below the ground, its roots branch out and it starts to seek areas where there's more water. Anybody who's ever had a plant indoors and has ever paid attention can tell you that if you take that plant and put it by a window, after a while, it'll start to bend towards the light. And if you flip the plant around, that plant will once again start to try to bend to the light. Now, something controls that process. I think it's easy to understand the part where there's a code. Although I haven't gotten to the point where who wrote the code. Here's the other part, though, that's a little bit more complicated. There's got to be some sort of sensors in that plant that sense this light and that sense moisture. And the third part, more importantly, I think, is that there has to be a processor to process all of this information, to read the code, read the sensor information, and deliver some sort of output. There has to be a processor that does this. Now, in the human being, we believe that this processor is the brain. It might be. I really couldn't tell you for sure. But where does this processor exist in other things, like a tree? Where's the processor in that tells the tree what to do? I told you earlier that I believe that there is supernatural means of writing this code. I believe that's God Almighty. And I believe that God Almighty holds all the processors that control all the actions of all these living beings. So the tree itself doesn't really hold the processor. God Himself is the processor. Anyways, that's my thoughts.